Alright, let's do this. I'm actually gonna hop on Anthem after this. Take a look at that Sheeper Storm, because it looks like it's really starting to kick in. I burned through a ton of cookies. Oh, it's taking a while.
The servers are just down. No, they're running great, friend.
What's a hurry though?
This forest is like a black hole. It just keeps pulling us back in. But I suppose good things keep happening here. Somehow.
Take that,
Okay, I'm actually best to not go on about stuff too much.
I see you haven't changed much, Portal. Still huge and scary. You ready for weird story time? I'm ready for weird story time.
I want one more.
Some Titan orders predate the city. Born of a darker time, when light was an untamed weapon. The Sunbreakers brought honor to the wild, never seeking the safety of the city.
Oh no, these guys I don't know are gonna ruin my photo.
Okay, because people don't really know, and when they come across these things, they don't really know about this stuff unless it's spoon-fed to them, and then a lot of people really don't want to ever bother with the lore unless it's, you know, like I said, it's spoon-fed to them or something. That's literally referring to before the city was built, the Dark Ages. Clearly, the Sunbreakers are born. The Sunbreaker Order, Titan. There are many Titan orders, of course. There are many Warlock orders, of course. But Hunters don't really have an order. But technically, it's kind of a thing. But Sunbreakers, pretty much, they obviously don't. They have points of views that are not like many Titans. Hopefully we have a little more elaboration before I go on this. Pretty much they were before the Dark Ages. Now the Dark Ages were pretty much the time before Guardians were Guardians.
I don't know, man.
But
I really like my Ranger.
this isn't necessarily the Dark Ages. Of course, Sunbreakers are considered Guardians. How can there be Sunbreakers before Guardians were known as Guardians? Because Guardians were once known as the Risen. And the Risen were an organized group of people who have immense power, and some of those people became warlords and used that power for their own benefit. The Iron Lords came along and pretty much said, hey, join us or die. And if they said no, well, they didn't tell them join us or die. They kind of did, but if they said no, they would kill them because the warlords are immortal, and they can't have that sort of thing just going around. And they joined. Some of them joined them. Some of them were brutally killed, and unfortunately, that meant they had to kill their ghosts too, because that's the only way to kill a guardian. This was after all that, when guardians were known as guardians. And the Sunbreaker Order was created before the city was really known as a city, like before the walls were built and stuff. But when the city was slowly becoming a city. Okay.
Bound by an oath, they live as mercenaries, seeking battles and alliances beyond the walls. Now the light of their fire has at last found rank among the city. Forge the fury of undying suns. Wield the hammer of soul with honor, Titan. It is a thing of legend, both past and future.
This has been an interesting weekend. Sure has. Gonna miss your Colossus.
Clearly, that's a little elaboration. Clearly saying that the Sunbreakers were mercenaries. They pretty much didn't have see eye to eye with the city and Titans. They were kind of kicked out because of it. And they pretty much don't like the city. Not necessarily the city, but they don't exactly fit. They like this. They're not like, oh, we're gonna do our own thing. No, they're just as much for the city as every other guardian. But like I said, they don't take comfort in protection of the city. They kind of go out and do their own thing. That's part of the reason why they're mercenaries. And of course, we're gonna hopefully get a little bit more into the Sunbreaker thing, because that requires a little bit more elaboration than I can actually explain it. We're gonna do this. This is happening. I feel like I should take advantage of this, because people come through here and they just run past it like, oh, blah 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 blah, and then, okay, cool. What am I getting a super? Like, okay, that sucks. Don't you want to at least try to figure it out? But no, they have no idea what's going on. And like I said, I'm not saying everyone is, but some people do not bother with this stuff unless it's spoon fed to them, or they have a trail of breadcrumbs that can be followed easy, like an easy trail. It's not really a puzzle, it's more like a trail, like, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy, oh, found it. And you didn't really go that far. Now that said, I am not what is known as a lore master. I do not know tons of lore. I am what is known as a lore lock, because I'm not good enough to be a lore master, but I do know a significant amount to, actually tell people stuff. I can actually explain these things. I'm not stupid. Okay.
How do I know the Sunbreakers? I fought with them at the pinnacle of the wall, shoulder to shoulder. They died right alongside us that day, for a city they felt had abandoned them. I admired that. Never thought I would see the light of the hammers in the city again. But that Guardian always surprises me.
Oh, look. It's getting brighter up there.
Okay, for you.
Hey, we've got company.
Okay, after this one. Actually, I can probably explain this now. For all you D2 newbies who haven't been around for D1 and know little to nothing about Taking King, here's a lore thing. Sunbreakers kind of left the city because they kind of did their own thing, and they kind of aligned themselves with Osiris. Because Osiris was like, hey, stuff and things. They were like, hey, stuff and things, and stuff and things happened. And they were like, dude, we should do stuff and things happen, and other stuff and other things. And they didn't group up. They weren't a part of Osiris's thing, but they kind of like grouped together. But they were like mercenaries. But at first they were mercenaries. They didn't really align themselves, but they were kind of with them. And man, I really wrecked these dudes super fast. But yeah, and yeah, they kind of did their own thing, going from place to place, and they hadn't been seen in the city for ages, obviously, because they were banned. But unfortunately, in the Red War, when the Traveler's Light was cut off, there were 2 known orders that were taken out, and that have been with the city before the city was a city. And that was the Stoneborn. The Stoneborn are actually known. They are the Titans that everyone talks about that built the walls that protect the city. That's what they're known for. They're known for always standing for a fight, and they never ever leave. They stay into the last Guardian standing. Unfortunately, them, along with the Sunbreakers being in a worse situation, were killed. The entire order was completely wiped out. Stormbreaker order was completely wiped out. The Stoneborn order was completely wiped out. because they chose to stay and fight in the city while everyone left, and the Cabal, the Red Legion, completely destroyed the remaining members of the Stoneborn Order. Yes, for once, something in the city's history actually currently exists. Well, not anymore. That we're actually a part of. This is something you heard of that was once a thing. No, this is a legit thing. This wasn't just once a thing. This is what is a thing, or it was a thing now. But unfortunately, there currently is no Stoneborn Order. I've actually seen that. That sucks. Or there is. It kind of is, but the members are pretty much gone now. I don't know if there's an attempt to rebuild or something, but for all intents and purposes, the members of the Stoneborn Order, the Stoneborn Order is pretty much gone. Sunbreakers being in a tougher spot, mostly being seen around places such as Mercury with a Vexor, because Osiris and all that stuff. Unfortunately, they were killed as well. Without the light, the Vex had an easy time taking them out, and that sucked. But before that, in the Taken King, there was actually an attempt to reconnect with the Sunbreakers orders by the Guardian, and that is why there is a mention of the Sunbreaker stuff being returned to the city. In the Taken King, the Sunbreaker order and the tower lives on through the pilgrimage to and from the place where the Sunbreakers were back to the city. And now the Sunbreaker order once again rises, lives on once again within the Titans that have adopted the Sunbreaker abilities, potentially lifestyle. In theory, their Sunbreaker order may still continue, but we have actually no idea who is willing to take up that mantle and actually be considered a part of the Sunbreaker order. But though there are Titans who have used the Sunbreaker's abilities, with the Guardian being the first in a long time of Guardians of the City who have actually used it. Alright.
Over there, another projection.
The Fallen were everywhere. Lord Saladin sent a regroup order to all channels. Zavala backed him. They weren't yelling, but it made my ears ring. Their exact words, I can't remember, but Saladin and Zavala, their message was clear. All is lost. 6 of us took the wall that day, against orders. One of us a Sunbreaker named Lu Feng. She wasn't even from the city. We died, and died, and died. But we had each other. And we had our light. 6 of us. The wall held. Zavala and Lord Saladin made their counterattack.
All that was literally referencing the Battle of Six Fronts. The Battle of Six Fronts. No, Battle of Twilight Gap, my bad. The Battle of Twilight Gap. The Battle of Twilight Gap. The Battle of Six Fronts is actually the opposite. Oh, kind of the opposite. The both battles were victories by the city. But the Battle of Six Fronts was a complete victory. Total victory. It was mostly Titans. There weren't many Hunters and Warlocks there at the time. There were mostly Titans. Every single Guardian held their place. They were never driven back, and they never moved forward. An entire house, thousands upon thousands of Fallen, attempted to take the city. They never succeeded. They never moved them back an inch, like I said. They never moved forward. Remember, people like the members of the Firebreak Order who believe that the best way to defend the city is through an aggressive offense and push into enemy territory. They were actually known the Guardians that actually decided to get up at one point and go out into enemy territory. And along the way, more Guardians started to join them, and they joined a firing line towards enemy territory. And they literally created a fire line and charged into enemy territory. The line was never broken, and they what was it? They actually gained ground from a small group of Guardians that actually grouped together into a little firing line and fired into enemy territory, pushing them back, and they actually gained ground. And until the Red War, I believe that ground was never lost. It wasn't a ton of ground, but it wasn't a small amount. It was a very significant amount of ground. Now, the Battle of Twilight Gap was a different story. There were actually heavy casualties. One of the known survivors is Eris Morn. The battle was pretty much considered lost because it was as close to the city as it was, and it was taking a heavy hit. The city took a heavy hit. Of course, many Guardians didn't survive, which is why the Gjallarhorn was actually forged from armor from those Guardians, because, well, they failed. They didn't exactly survive, and it was pretty much considered a loss. But when Zavala and Lord Saladin decided to fall back, Lord Shaxx actually decided they were seeing an opportunity to push forward. He ignored what he was told, and he pushed forward with, up until this point, was known as combat frames, potentially, but it actually was a team of six Guardians, and one of them was a Sunbreaker who was not actually from the city. And that's pretty much it. Because of that, the city actually won against the Fallen. That was the battle where the Fallen combined of multiple houses. House King, the two houses and that wasn't, all the houses except for one that didn't make it without that house, because houses aren't like hundreds, a small amount here and there. No, houses are thousands upon thousands of Fallen. They stretch across Mount. If the Fallen captured Texas, right, which they probably have to extent, if they captured Texas, they could literally make about almost half of it their home and scatter the rest around the rest of the state, and still have more to go out and do stuff in other states. That's how big a house is. Houses, well, that's a small amount. Houses can actually control large areas of the planet. That was okay, like the Texas analogy. The Fallen pretty much can deploy members of their house to places like that, and it would be large groups like that. There's actually tons of Fallen, tons. But of course, if all of those Fallen are converged on a silly city, that would be nightmarish. But fortunately, I mean, not all the Fallen are gonna go into their one place. Of course, they're gonna have to leave some behind to stay in their territory to hold their stuff. Which is why there weren't as many as it may have seemed. But the battle was actually won. The Fallen once again was sent back, or were left, and the Guardians won. But unfortunately, because of the heavy losses they took, they had very few Guardians that were combat capable and actually knew how to be Guardians. Which is why the Crucible was formed, to replace the Guardians that were lost, and actually train new Guardians, and to better prepare them to ensure that something like that never happens again. And unfortunately, that is why Lord Shaxx and Lord Saladin don't exactly speak. It's not really like they hate each other. It's more like they don't. Yeah.
Zavala likes to say that survival is a temporary condition. To fight for it always. But survival is already owed to us. The collapse has come and gone, and yet here we stand. It is our nature to survive. Whether we like it or not. Guardians ask me, what should we fight for? How about peace? How about a city without fear?
There you go. Do the epic pose. Yeah. Oh, he's eye tracking.
Okay, that was actually self-explanatory. But it's pretty much it's look at it this way. The way of a striker titan, right? Okay, the way of a striker titan is in close quarters. I can actually pull this up. Thank you, Bungie, for implementing this into the game. Excuse me. At close quarters, a fist is better than any gun. You think the problem with showing up empty-handed to a gunfight with no with the beat with okay, sorry. You think the problem with showing up to empty-handed to a gunfight with the bullets would be the bullets. And yes, turning a gunfight into a fist fight is a lot of work. Tactically speaking, but really, I just don't have the patience for all that hiding and all that fumbling. Sorry, it's kind of hard to speed read. For battles or fleets or whatever, when it's time to reload, which seems to have happened the moment I started to enjoy myself. Hiding and reloading sounds amazing. You all have fun. My fists don't need reloading. Back to the problem. The problem with fist is hygiene. Paint your armor. Fist should be an alien icon. Excuse me. Toxic robotic lubricant and ashes. Now take a good look at yourself.
That'll probably kick me.
This is the only reason I envy the hiders and the reloaders. They got to stay clean.
Yeah, you missed the chamber storm.
Now does that sound like to you someone who would rather, like I said before, sorry, excuse me, be like the Stoneborn Order? Actually, where is it? Where is it? Unfortunately, this isn't the OG subclass. This is a new subclass combined with the original, which means I actually have to find the other quote somewhere in here. It should be here. Here we go. I don't care. This first part isn't a part of it. I don't care because I cannot move. I cannot be moved. I am the wall against which darkness breaks. Now this does not sound like a striker titan from what I've read. This is a striker titan. No running, no hiding, no reloading. You get in, you get your hands dirty. That deeply comes from their personality and their way of seeing things. Sentinels are kind of the opposite. But they both don't exactly go out. The striker titans, okay, they'll go out and run about the battlefield. And they'll get aggressive, right? And it's the, what do you call it? They'll be like defensive. They'll like stand their ground. But none of them are gonna go out looking for a fight. Or striker titans maybe. But the ones that will the most, Sunbreakers. And that is what that is all about. Subclasses aren't just abilities. The subclasses are extensions of personalities and points of views and stuff like that. And that's how subclasses, to an extent, are formed and created and refined.
So Lord Saladin and Lady Aphrodite. He'll hate that I'm telling this story, but Lady Aphrodite. I like Lady Aphrodite. She tells me everything. We like our stories, and we like our helmets. So, Aphrodite, she lifts Saladin over her head. And she says, I never miss. She lifts him over her head and she throws him. And he cranks his fist of havoc. Their combined arc energy singing like a drawn sword. 20 miles down, he plummets into a fallen wall. He's like a cannon shot out of a friggin' anti-aircraft gun. Everything explodes. Her ghost was laughing and she revived him. They saved a whole village of people. This was the Dark Age. They had those villages. I miss those days. I miss Lady Aphrodite.
Okay, that was kind of self-explanatory, but you notice there's a lot. Excuse me, sorry. But you notice there's a lot. Hang on. But you notice, sorry, excuse me. But you notice that it speaks more about the Sunbreakers. Like I said before, subclasses are not just abilities. They're not just, oh, I shoot a grenade. No, subclasses are more about their abilities. They're about, to an extent, the personality. The extensions of their personality. That's how they take form. That's sort of how they take form. That's where their forms come from. That's how they're defined. It's a way of perspective as much as it is abilities and stuff like that, which is why you talk about Striker Titans seem to have a lot more in common to Sunbreakers than the others. Like I said before, Striker Titan will run around the battlefield and go, ah. Sunbreakers won't just run around the battlefield; they'll go out looking for a fight. But the others, they won't do that. They'll actually stand their ground and fight and stuff like that. And all of this, that's what it's about. You think like, oh, it's telling us I have no idea what's going on. No, that's what it's about. It's getting in the idea around your head of what you should be feeling, what should you be thinking, what this is about, what this means to you, what this speaks to you, and how you go about it. Pretty much. It's your way of thinking. It's a mindset. That's why all this is here. It's to jog your memory and get you thinking a certain way, seeing things a certain point of view. That's how these supers are created, to an extent.
There's the shot. Wait, did you hear that? Taken. Inbound.
Oh, no, you don't. Hang on. Okay, I'm actually going to demonstrate this for a little bit. I can explain this a little bit better if I don't get myself killed. Excuse me. Thank you. Appreciate that as you just condescendingly walk off. Proud of yourself, aren't you? Full of a pile of trash. Come here. Okay, you see that? All of my abilities, like I said, Striker Titan. All of my abilities, my grenades, throw it, explodes, and stuns people, and I go in there for this punch. Shoulder charge, the same thing. It's all about aggression, aggressive. And I know all the other abilities have a similar thing. Oh yeah, well shoulder charge is the same as the other ones. Yeah, but shoulder charge, you look at how shoulder charge is. You run, and you hit with your bare hands. At close quarters, any fist is better than any gun. And you actually see this in the supers. If you think about that mindset and that way of thinking and that point of view, you apply it to the supers like this. Look at this. There's no way you can't look at this and see, yeah, this is a
must have a little light left to give.
Hey, look at that. Leo's striker type. And that'll clear out a battlefield. But this.
Let's show the Taken what you've learned.
And this striker type, you're around, bam, run around and hit the ground to clear out the battlefield. With the Sunbreaker, you see this? It's a hammer, which means I can run around and go looking for a fight. I can take this thing for miles, or at least theoretically, if you look at it from that point of view. If you look at it from that point of view, if I had my striker super right now, I could hit the ground like I run around the battlefield. But it doesn't look like I could take this thing for miles. But Sunbreaker, I run around and take this thing wherever I want. I can literally go looking for a fight. Tell me you don't look at something like this and you can't see something like this running around charging, looking for people to hit. Sunbreakers are the same, the other ones are the same way. Oh, but one has a shield and it runs around. Yeah, but what is a shield? Defense. What is a hammer? Look at this. You can tell by how long the super lasts. It literally feels and looks like I can take this for miles on end.
Take it will do anything to stop us from leaving.
This literally goes along with everything that was said. If you take that into account, you take it to compare it to with everything that was just said and all that stuff, compare it to this, it would start to make a little bit more sense about what everything I said about the points of view and everything. It's a little hard to explain for me. That's part of the reason why I'm a lore lost and not a lore master.
Nicely done. Let's get out of here. I'm ready for a change of scenery.
No more taxes for America. Okay, why did I say that? I have no idea. Oh, he's doing it. Oh, you think you can actually do something, can you? Oh, now he's running away. Okay, seriously, stop. Okay. See what the... Oh. Thinking it was funny, aren't you? Okay, now someone's getting on that high horse. You know what we do to people on that high horse? Sorry you had to see that. Now with that said, part of the reason Alright. Part of the whole reason I said all that was...
I don't know why the Traveler keeps choosing to grant us its powers. There must be others like us out there, fighting for what's right.
The reason I said all that stuff and do all these things because hopefully this will get people to go, oh, yeah, I actually want to take a little bit more value, see a little more value in this and actually appreciate it more instead of running past things going, I don't get it, lol, I'm gonna run around and do this inside quick. Okay, you can do all that stuff, but man, at least take a moment to consider, because this is not something you can... I just don't like it when people just run past these things and then they don't get it. It's like, yeah, well, I don't get it. Well, but okay, if this means that much to you, then why is it? Why? You could ask somebody for questions or something. If it, yeah, I get the situation and I get why. I get why some people don't want to bother with third-party stuff, and like some people are lazy. Yeah. Excuse me. For the longest time, I kind of was too, despite the fact that I actually wanted to read the Grimoire, but sometimes I didn't get around to it. Other times I was lazy. You know what I'd do? I'd bother with lore videos. After a while, I would sit for hours upon hours pondering about this stuff. It got to the point where I was thinking about it a lot, and what all the hype for the Taken King at the time, I literally had a nightmare about the Taken King. That's how bad it was, but that's how much I think about this stuff. And then if you don't really care that much to explore this sort of thing, hang on, okay. If you don't really care that much to explore and try to figure out stuff, at least you owe it to yourself, if you're gonna play this game, to at least come to appreciate it. And that way you'll have a... Man, there's a lot of stuff here, and it's a shame to have this many people just pass it by as if it's not there. It's like, yeah, every single time a story comes around, yeah, the story was good. Oh yeah, that story sucked or whatever. It's just don't like. Okay, just give me a moment. I actually want to read these abilities. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, oh, you shouldn't metagame. You should take your time and stuff. Play the game how you want. You want that max roll. You want that perfect roll weapon. You go get that perfect roll weapon. I personally have take account more of the stats than the perks. Don't get me wrong, I like myself a good set of perks, but the stats will do just as great of a job. Well, not just as great of a job, but they'll do a pretty good job on their own. You don't need a weapon with the greatest of perks to do stuff. You just need a weapon with good stats, or the stats that speaks to you, stuff like that. But what I'm saying is, go do those things, but take into account everything else. And if it's not your thing, at the very least, have some appreciation for it, at least for yourself. And I don't know how correct I am on how the people like that's point of view is, but of course everybody's different, and I don't mean everybody who falls into that sort of category. Potato, or should I say details? But okay, I just want to read. Okay, hang on. Demonstrate. While sprinting, uses melee abilities to lays a hammer on weak spots. Okay, that's pretty good. Wait, is that the same as Melting Point?
Yeah, like I just left and then loaded back.
No. Wait, what? There's no Melting Point? While sprinting, they're using melee abilities. No, this is Melting Point, I think, right? Right, sorry. Tempered metal. I just want the one that gives me a shoulder charge when I use my super. I'll do this real quick and then I'll get to the point I wanted to talk about. Well, sprinting, use your melee ability. Okay, yeah. Sprinting. That's one of the super. Hammers create sunspots. That's not it. Hammers just explode on more. You know what? I'll figure that out later. But back to what I was saying before. The whole idea of a Sunbreaker is pretty much to go looking for a fight, not necessarily go looking for a fight. That's that whole personality. I mean, look at this guy. He does not like somebody who's gonna wait around for something to happen. He's like he's going to go out there to get stuff done. And there's some Striker Titan. He's gonna get stuff done, but he's gonna get stuff in the battlefield. This guy goes from battlefield to battlefield. He's seen some stuff, man. That's what this guy looks like, and that's a Sunbreaker. Okay. Forged in fury of the undying suns, the hammer fell upon the horde. Oops, sorry. The hammer fell upon the horde in such numbers as to blind the eye, and burn the soul. Our phalanx broke their front lines and incinerated the thralls that reinforced their flanks. I looked around the battlefield with pride upon the scores of the once depressed guardian. Desperate guardians, united to excel. Sorry, like I said, it's kind of hard to read for me at this point right now. Sorry. To exceptional, the hive from our background. The honor of the conquered dead. The comrade would win this day because of the difference set aside and alliances hard struck. At last, we both know how that day truly ended. Sorry. Our early fortunes would be our green fire and failure would be your sole remembrance of that day. But I remember different. I saw an alliance forged in the heart of the Sunbreakers, luminescent despite your opinion. That is what I remember. Our flame should have won the day, our frame should one day flicker and die. Let it be to set your history ablaze. Yeah. I'll let you ponder that, because I'm not gonna, like I said, I actually want someone. You can't appreciate something if it's spoon fed to you. If you haven't gotten your hands dirty, you wouldn't actually be able to see every single detail. And with that, I actually, for those who actually care, because I don't want this to shove this down people's throats. I just want, if this is your choice, but for those who really care, I actually would like if you to ponder this and think about pretty much everything here and all of this stuff, and figure out what all this means and stuff, because I pretty much gave you a bunch of hints. It shouldn't be that hard. Codex of Fire Forge. I like that. What's this one? Codex of Siegebreaker. Of the Siegebreaker. But actually, I kind of did this. That's actually gonna do it for now. I'm actually gonna, after this, I didn't actually intend to do this right now, but I was gonna do this to level up to the minimum for the new content, because I kinda went a little crazy with my hunter, and my hunter is literally almost 570, and my warlock master race is, yeah, let's not talk about that. And my Titan is worse off. Yeah. But you know what? For people who actually want to see this, and for the people who don't really care, you don't have to, but everyone else who for some reason want to see this, I'm actually going to do what the whole intent of this was. And the Fire Team channel stream has stopped streaming Anthem, which means Anthem probably is not available for open beta, which means I missed it. Whoops. Okay, never mind. I didn't actually realize that. Oh well. Doesn't actually. The gateway to be of mine is through the rails. Soul's might. I'll catch you next space time.